Welcome back, y'all. This is Carol, and we're doing a little Christmas tree today, but in a completely different style. Totally loose. If you know me, you know that this is hard for me, but it needs to be done. So first of all, this is a Sharpie permanent extra fine point. It has to be a Sharpie. Anything else is going to bleed. It can be India ink if you happen to have a fountain type pen or anything. But I'm thinking I'll go ahead and outline at least most of the star. And then I'll provide this drawing for you, but you can tell that it's not really intended to have a lot of detail in it. You were just hinting at branches and the basic idea that this is a pine tree, right? The reason for that is now this is going to be real loose. I kind of drew this in a little bit and I'm trying to stay true to it, but I'm not doing very well. It's usually a little fuller towards the bottom, so I'm trying to give it some more. Trying to give it some more branches down there. I think that's good. You can kind of tell that that's a little pine tree, right? I hope. Okay, this is where the fun starts. Okay. We're going to spray our little paints down. Soften them up. What I've got here is I've got a number 2 brush, number 8 brush. They're both rounds. I've got Cad Yellow Deep, Quin Red. I'm not sure what that red is. I think that is a magenta. But anyway, this is Quin Red. You can use any bright red. This is Cobalt Turquoise, which I thought I would try today. I think that's Payne's Gray, and I don't know that I need it, but I happen to be sitting in this tray. This is my Perylene Green, Prussian Blue, and Sap Green. And in the middle, I'm not going to use this either. That just happens to be some burnt sienna. But I don't intend to use that. I did forget to outline the little, I think that we should outline the little ornaments. Maybe a little smaller towards the top. If you want it to be really round. Now, if you want everything to be really round, as opposed to winging it like I was doing, you could use one of these things. This was about $4 at Hobby Lobby. I don't know whether they have them at Walmart or not, but Hobby Lobby and Michael's certainly will. It's smaller up here, so we're going to say that one's that. Down here we can do bigger ones. Trying to alternate. Your eye typically will try to put these in exactly the same, distance apart and so forth, and that doesn't look natural. So just force yourself to move these puppies around and give them a little variety in where they're hanging, okay? Well, that's so much easier with a stencil, isn't it? Is that enough? That's probably enough. Maybe one right here. Okay. And a tiny one up here. Okay. That's enough. I'll get too carried away and there won't be any tree left. How about a little hanging thing at the top, at least the hint of it? I'm just really just kind of doing a little V at the top just to show that there's something helping it. That should be drying. Just a second. I've got a little salt, so grab a little table salt. We're going to see what happens when we do this. I love the effects of table salt, and even though I've not done this particular picture before, I'm pretty sure it's going to come out pretty awesome using a little table salt in there. So we can start with our small and some really straight yellow. I don't care if my lines come through because that's the kind of picture this is, okay? I might even go over my lines on purpose. I drew that star with just two triangles together, and then you get a nice little 6-point star. Okay. Now for the rest of this, let's see here. I think I want to spritz it. Start with our lighter color, as always we do, and just throw some on here, and I don't know what that spritzing is going to do to it, so we'll see. Now we probably should grab a little bit of our, it is after all a tree, so let's get some sap green. Toss it in here, maybe overlapping. If we're not getting enough movement, spritz it a little more. I'm trying not to go into the little balls as much as possible, but if I spritz, of course, that is a chance that that's going to happen. Okay, how about some of this beautiful cobalt turquoise? Ooh, I like that. That's pretty. It's a little powerful, but it's pretty. Because I spritzed it instead of covering everything with water, that's where we're getting this wonderful, some sharp lines here and some real fuzzy, floaty lines in other places. Lost edges, they call it. And because I spritzed it, only part of it has those visible, and the rest of it is not. Only part of it is showing that, and the rest of it doesn't have the sharpness. It has a nice fuzzy feel. Actually, there's a technical name for that that's escaping my brain at the moment that I learned in art school, but I don't remember what it is. Yep, somebody will make fun of me for that, but that's okay. I'm just having fun here with you for Christmas. I like my perylene green. You know, I've got to have a little perylene green. Maybe toss that in here on top of some of these colors. Put some drops of water in there. Now, before it gets too shiny, I want to do something. My yellow spread out here too far, and so I'm picking up the water so that it won't come out so far out of my sheet. I don't care if it's loose around the star because that makes it look like it's shining, right? So that's okay. Probably need a little yellow down there. Okay, I'm going to spritz the middle. Now, I've got to let this get to the point where it's losing some of its shine. I'm going to give it 3 or 4 minutes. Otherwise, the salt won't work. That's the funny thing about salt is it does wonderful things if you allow the paper to lose a little bit of its sheen first. Like right here where the water is sitting. Probably need to soak up just a little of that water just to Help speed it along. Because in a puddle, it just won't do any. The salt won't do anything. I didn't put red in here yet because I wanted to do that for the ornaments. You could put a little of it in there and say that's a reflection, you know. Just for interest's sake. But I was going to make some of a lot of the ornaments red, and so that's why I didn't bother with that. I think it's reached the point where we can toss a little salt on there. Now, I'm going to do it by hand because otherwise I'm going to get too much salt on here and it's just totally going to mess it up. Okay, now we're going to let that sit. You got to let it sit until it dries, which could take, 30, 40 minutes, depending on how much water you've got on there. So we're going to let it rest now. Well, it has done a few pretty things there. I think that we can, while it's continuing to dry, it will continue to pull up some areas and give some more little effects like this. You'll be able to see that close up. In the meantime, I think it's safe to go ahead and color some of our ornaments and leave a little white spot for the highlight. Or not, up to you. I want to vary the colors around just a little bit. If it bleeds out because there's moisture somewhere, that's okay. Not too worried about that. Let's see here, some nice bright blue ones. You can always go over this with some white. If you lose your highlights or you forget, it's not a big deal. We got a lot of yellow on our tree, but I think a couple of yellow bulbs is a must. How about right in here where there's no yellow? And you can toss a little extra color into some of them too, just to make them more interesting while they're still wet. I love mixing colors with watercolors and just letting the water kind of do its thing. I think I want to give a little, ooh, that was too much water on my brush. I want to give a little bit of a orangey color in my star there. Maybe a little bit of an orangey shadow on this ball. I was trying to make it a real quick one. I don't know if I'm succeeding. I really was trying to make this a really quick one. Oh, how about a couple teal balls? Maybe some green. You could make these all gold. You could make these all red. You can do whatever you want on yours. Okay, now, I know we're still waiting for the salt to dry, but I've got to do a little splattering. I think that with the style of this kind of loose painting, that would look really, really cool. So how about maybe some perylene green. And maybe a little red. Your splattering has to be a little bit wet, not too wet, or you'll make a real mess, but a little bit wet. You can tap real softly just to, it sort of lets you know whether you got it too wet or not. How about a little bit of yellow splatters? I do believe that's done. Now this salt's going to keep working, so I'll let it dry for a little bit while I process this video. I do think I need to fill in the, I'm going to mix a little green and blue to get an almost black color here. If you add a little red to it, it'll actually be brown, see? You can make the stem visible every now and then if you want to. And how about a little base under it? Oh, that's kind of cool. It pulled in some of my drops. That was totally accidental. I love little accidents like that. I'm going to let the base run out into that a little bit. There we go. I love it. I hope that you enjoyed that. I tried to make a slightly shorter one. Now tomorrow we're going to do a acrylic star ornament. And I'm not positive, but I think this is an ornament I did several years ago. And I was thinking of doing this bouquet style background with a little snowman in front. Maybe just a bird. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So that'll be tomorrow's. So come back tomorrow and see what we do. See you tomorrow. Bye.